So welcome to everybody. We're going to continue our class as every Sunday. So then this Sunday is we're going to explain about mindfulness of breathing meditation. We have conducted this class also before, and this is in a visual form how to for you to understand all the details. Actually, this meditation can be taught within 5 to 10 minutes, but because those who are curious to know from where the source comes and how the Buddha himself explained this, this meditation, so we're going to devote about 1 hour to explain all the details, not only about mindfulness of breathing meditation, but also about metta meditation. So then it will take about 1 hour. So then, I will try to give as much detail as possible for you to have a grasp of the whole of the all steps which one has to follow. So then, this breathing meditation has been practiced by the Buddha himself before his enlightenment. He used it as a basis for his enlightenment because after he attained a high degree of concentration because of this breathing meditation, so then he started practicing vipassana meditation, that is insight meditation, and through which he attained what's called Buddhahood. So therefore, he praised this meditation many times. That's why he tells this concentration, samadhi, through mindfulness of breathing, when developed and practiced much, is both peaceful and sublime. It is an unadulterated, blissful abiding, and it banishes and steals evil, unwholesome thoughts as soon as they arise. So therefore now the Buddha calls this a meditation which is, has to do with concentration. So then focusing the mind on the breath, and this concentration can arouse a very blissful and peaceful consciousness through which one can attain even jhanas, which we are going to explain later. So therefore, this is because our mind is all the time scattered. Concentration is very important to collect this mind in a certain object and to not to allow it to be confused with so many thoughts. Therefore, concentration is very important because our mind, as the Buddha says, is a flickering mind. Therefore, he says this flickering, unsteady mind, difficult to guard, difficult to tame, the wise person strengthens it as a fletcher strengthens an arrow. So therefore, the task of a meditator is to strengthen the mind. So the simile is like a fletcher strengthens an arrow. What the meditator tries to do it is this confused and scattered mind, and gets it very straight through concentration. So there is a kind of taming the mind, and the Buddha tells a tamed mind brings happiness. So if our mind is completely scattered, confused, what we call happiness, it is a very fleeting thing. But once the mind is very concentrated, very unified, then one can feel this happiness arising within oneself. So usually our mind is a fragmented state. So because it gets bombarded with so much information and it gets scattered all over. But concentration helps to unify the mind and to bring it to one point. So this is called oneness of the mind, or sometimes called one-pointedness of the mind, which the Buddha calls chittas ekagata. Eka means one, aga means point, chitta means one. This is the, chitta means mind. So therefore now it is here what the Buddha speaks about focusing the mind to one point, bringing one point, and this is called oneness of the mind. So before the Buddha starts to explain the technical things, how to practice focusing the mind, he is going to to talk about the sitting position, because it is very important to know how to sit. And he says sitting down, folding the legs crosswise, setting the body erect. So sometimes I put the Pāli text also for those who want to check the Pāli. So therefore, here it is, setting the body erect is very important. The other part, which is called folding the legs crosswise, it may be difficult for some people, especially for Western people, but I will suggest some other postures, some other position, which can be easy for ordinary people. So what the Buddha suggests here is the full lotus position. This is the position when both heels are on the thighs. If you can see the thighs of the Buddha, it's called the heels of the Buddha or the thighs. So, but there is another position called half lotus position, where only one heel is on the thigh. So there is also another position which is called Burmese position, which both heels are on the ground and little bit far from the body. So all these are acceptable. Main thing is one has to keep the spine erect. So then, and one can sit on a half of cushion for a help and strengthen your back. So you can place your arms and legs comfortably. So you can place either your left or right leg in front. So as it is easy for you. So then this is other ways how to place your arms and palms. And this is also another way. So main thing is now the arms and should be relaxed and comfortable position, because all the attention goes to the breath and the tip of the nose, and the hands are irrelevant. Slowly, slowly, one forgets about the body and all the attention goes to the breath. Therefore now, main thing is one relaxes the hands so that they don't become disturbance, annoyance during meditation. So these are unnecessary hand position, because as I told you, all the attention goes to the breath, not to the body. So then you can, if you like, you can adopt them, but in this meditation have no meaning. So then other ways to sit is on a stool, on a scissor, that means a big cushion, or on a chair. But even so, you can see the spine in all this position is erect. So, and this is not a suitable posture. So now, after the Buddha explains about the postures and so forth, the position of the body, he is going to explain about mindfulness of breathing as serenity meditation, means how to calm the mind by focusing on the breath. So first he is going to explain the place of observing the breath. So in this case, he says, establishing mindfulness at Parimukha, which means around or near the face or mouth. Parimukha is a term which the Buddha uses and means pari means around, mukha means face, can be also the mouth. The reason is why he does not say in the nose, on the nose, is because some people, if they have short nose, they can feel the breath on the upper lip. Some those people who have ordinary noses, they can feel it on the tip of the nose. So therefore now he tells around the or near the face or the mouth. What is about around our face is actually the nose. That is from where the breath enters, and we can feel it usually in the nose. But those who have short nose, they can feel it on the upper lip. So this is the Pāli text for those who want to check it. And now this explanation about the Parimukha, the definition of Parimukha, it is further explained in other texts, canonical text, that is, and then it is said, this mindfulness is established, well established at the nose tip or at the mark of the mouth. That means the upper lip. Hence it is said, establishing mindfulness at the Parimukha. And therefore, no, Parimukha means at the nose of the tip or on the upper lip. So there is another canonical text also which says something similar. So in this way, he sits down by establishing mindfulness at the nose tip or at the mark of the mouth, that is the upper lip. So, and this canonical text says also, he does not give attention to the in-breaths coming inside the body. That means one does not follow his attention inside the body on the pharynx or on the lungs or on the belly, or the out-breaths going outside the body. Means where the breath goes outside the body, one should not follow that. So main thing is one keeps all his attention to the nose tip or on the upper lip, where, because this small area, in order to attain concentration, if one shifts one attention to the pharynx, to the lungs, to the belly, his concentration gets, his mind gets scattered and his concentration can become strong. So it becomes diffused. So then another thing is that if one follows the inhaling air inside the body as it travels in different bodily parts, one will then be practicing elements meditation in regard to the air element, but not mindfulness of breathing. That is a different meditation to see the elements. It's called the wind element and so forth. Even so, by meditating on the air element only, one doesn't even practice elements meditation fully, because it is required to also meditate on the other three elements, solid, liquid, heat element, and to see their correlation. Therefore, it can't be said that one either practices mindfulness of breathing correctly or elements meditation correctly if one follows the breaths inside the body. Hence, the Buddha advises in the regard to mindfulness of breathing, let your mindfulness of breathing be well established in one's person at Parimukha. When mindfulness of breathing is well established in one's person at Parimukha, any inclinations for outward and vexing thoughts cease to exist. Here the Buddha uses the verb establish, which indicates the placing and fixing of one's mindfulness at Parimukha, implying thus of not moving it hither and thither, or onwards and backwards to any other place. The opposite of establish is disestablish, displace, change, move, remove, etc., which is not the case in Ānāpānasati samadhi. That means in this concentration, with a mindfulness of breathing. Therefore, you establish your mindfulness at the tip of your nose, where the air strikes the nostrils, or at the upper lip. Observe the natural flow of your in-breath and out-breath at the nostrils or at the upper lip. So therefore now, this is the attention you have to give it at the nose on the upper lip, so you don't follow inside the body. So, and for the out-breath, it is also the same. Do not give attention to the in-breaths going inside the body, so, or to the out-breaths going outside the body. That is regarding the place of observing the breath. So then we don't move our attention to any other places except where the air strikes the nostril. That is the gate from where the air enters and exists from our body. Now the Buddha is going to explain how to tackle our attention, how to make our attention to remain with the breath. So the first step is, the Buddha says, ever mindful one breathes in, ever mindful one breathes out. So for the in-breath, one should be mindful to know that I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And so that is also for the out-breath. So this is the Pāli text for those who want to check it. And again, the Buddha says, so excuse me, now in your case, what you have to do it is, therefore you also ever mindful breathe in and ever mindful breathe out. Do so for about 5 minutes. For the in-breath, you mental not in-breath. For the out-breath, you mental not out-breath. So these words are very important to use. For every in-breath, you mentally not in-breath. For every out-breath, you mental not out-breath. So these words play a big role for us to bring the attention to the breath. Otherwise, the mind does not know what to do. If we allow the mind to just watch the breath, after some time, it will go away. But if we use these words, in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath, this mental noting, then we train the mind to know what it has to do. So you can do this about 5 minutes. So then, and do not use your attention to pay attention to the breath. So you don't use your eyes. Some people, they try to see something in the breath. There is nothing there to see. It is only the air which enters and exists. So, and therefore the eyes do not play any role. You better close your eyes because there is nothing there to see. So then, and try to pay attention to the sensation at the tip of your nose or to the movement of the air. So then the sensation is very more important because you can feel the breath, but you can't see it. There is nothing, because the breath has no color, has no shape. But once it strikes the nostrils, so you can feel it and try to pay attention to the feeling of the breath or to the movement of the air. When thoughts or feelings distract you, ignore them and come back to the sensation of the breath. Mental note, in breath, out breath. So now the Buddha is going to explain the second step. That means the first step it is in a very gross way. The second step it is more subtle way. So in the Buddha says, when one breathes in long, one understands I breathe in long. So for the long in breath, you have to understand that is long in breath. So again, when one breathes out long, one understands I breathe out long. For the long out breath, one understands it is long out breath. This is the Pali text for those who want to check it. So therefore now, when you breathe in long, understand I breathe in long. For a long breath, you mentally note long in breath. And when you breathe out long, understand I breathe out long. For the long out breath, you mentally note long out breath. So now long means long time duration. So usually if we sit in the beginning, we need some deep breaths to take deep breaths. This naturally. So we don't try to force the breath to make it long or short. We try to feel the breath as it occurs naturally. And usually when we sit down, the breath, it is a little bit deep. So we inhale in a deep way. So then this time duration is long duration, means we inhale and it takes some time till the breath stops. When it enters, and sometimes it takes when it exceeds, so again it takes some time for it to stop. That is, we have to see the time duration. So and then when the breath is short, the Buddha says, when one breathes in short, one understands I breathe in short. For the short-term breath, one should understand it. And when one breathes out short, one understands I breathe out short. For the short out breath, similarly also understand it. So then, therefore now, when you breathe in short, understand I breathe in short. It is for short in breath, you mentally note short in breath. When you breathe out short, understand I breathe out short. For the short out breath, you mentally note short out breath. Yet the short means short time duration. Sometimes the breath becomes short in the sense that you just feel it. As soon as the breath enters, you just feel it that it enters. As soon as it exists, you just feel it. Very slight time. It is very slight sensation. You get it so that the breath moves in, moves out. So the difference between short and long is that the short, it lasts very short time. You can feel the breath very shortly touching the nostrils and then it's called disappearing, and then when it exceeds again, touches the nostril, it disappears. Again, but for long means it takes some time. You can feel it. There is some time duration there. So after the Buddha explains the second step, whether the breath is long or short. So now you can do so maybe for 2-3 minutes just to understand how the the state of your breath is. This step is not different from this. For the first one, it is only that we try to see more details. It is the same breath, but we try to see more details. And we observe only the natural flow of the breath. We try to modify it to make it in a technical, in an artificial way. It is we observe the natural flow of the breath. So now, then the Buddha tries to explain the third step, which is to show more details, to try to detect more details. And here he says, one trains thus, I shall breathe in, experience the whole breath body. It means the whole in-breath, and try to experience the whole in-breath. So, and then he says, on trains thus, I shall breathe out, experience the whole breath body. For the whole out breath, one should experience the whole out breath. So this is the Pāli text for those who want to have it. Now, there is one word here which confuses some people. So then the word is body, which is used here. So if you see the Pāli text, it is the word for the Pāli text is kaya. Kaya literally means body. But in this context, what does it mean body? This is what confuses many people. And because the Buddha himself has given this definition, I will give the definition the Buddha gave, and we'll see it. The body means here in metaphorical sense. Now we're going to see what means the body here. We'll be surprised. It is not the body with your hands and legs and the head. It is something different. It's actually the breaths. Now we're going to explain the meaning of the whole body and especially what the body means. The definition of kaya, which is the body in this context, is given by the Buddha thus. I say that this is a certain body among the bodies, namely the in-breaths and out-breaths. So here's a Pāli text for those who want to check it. Now, here the body is nothing, not our legs and hands. It is actually the in-breaths and out-breaths. So why it is called as body? We're going to explain this now. Therefore, Sabbakaya means in this context the whole bodily process of the in-breaths and out-breaths. And kaya body is used in a metaphorical sense. So it is a process of the in and out breaths. It is said so because the meditator at this step begins to lose the perception of the physical body and starts to perceive the whole breath as a body, namely as a bulk or mass of air. So now, if we see here, while the meditator observes the breath going in and outside the body, if he observes again and again, ultimately what happens, he loses the perception of the physical body, and then only the breath remains in front of him. So this breath becomes the new body, means the collection of air which he feels, the mass or bulk of air, what he can feel. So ultimately, this movement of the breath remains only. The rest of the body becomes not noticeable. So what becomes more noticeable to the meditator, it is the movement of the in and out breath. This is called body in a metaphorical sense. Now, in English also, we use the word body to indicate something, a collection of things. For example, if we take the body of English literature, we mean the whole collection of the English literature. It does not mean any physical body. It is in a metaphorical sense. If we say the body of the diplomats in this country, it means not the physical body of the diplomats, but the whole group of these diplomats. So then if we tell the water body of this country, we mean the collection of all the water of rivers, lakes, and sea of this body, of this country. So therefore, in English also, we have this word body, which means collection, a bulk, sometimes a function of things. So while the meditator meditates like that, he loses the perception of the physical body and perceive the whole breath as a body, namely as a bulk and mass of air. So, and now once we have understood what means the body, it means what the meditator has to feel the whole breath, means the whole in breath and the tip of the nose. So therefore, you also try to experience the whole in breath at the tip of your nose. And for the whole in breath, you mentally note whole in breath. Try to experience the whole out breath at the tip of your nose. For the whole out breath, you mentally note whole out breath. So now, in order to see, to understand what means whole, the whole breath body, now we have to understand that if we give attention to the touching point, which is the parimukha or the upper lip, so the whole means we try to see not only part of the breath, but try to see the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. So that is where the attention is to see the whole process of from the beginning to the end of the breath. Then we can see it as a whole breath. So, and this takes place at the touching point, because when the breath enters touches the nostrils, that is the beginning. When it continues touching the nostrils, that is the middle. When it stops touching the nostrils, that is the end. At the same touching point, we can understand the whole process from the beginning till the end. So I'm going to give you a simile with a violin player. Now, the attention of the violin player is on the touching point where the bow touches the chords. His attention is there because that is from where the sound of the violin comes. So he does not give attention to the bow going up on the tip of the bow or to the other tip of the bow which goes down. So all his attention is to the touching point because the other tips of the bow are irrelevant. Similarly, the meditator, if he gives attention to the tip of the nose and he does not give attention to the breath going inside the body or outside the body. So he gives attention to the touching point and tries to see the beginning, middle, and end of the breath. It means to see the whole breath. And the difference between whole and part of the breath, I will going to show this here for you to have a better understanding. What means part of the breath? Now, if a meditator sees only the beginning of the breath, he sees part of that. If he sees only the middle of the breath, he sees only part of it. If he sees the end of the breath, he sees only part of it. If he sees the beginning and middle, or the middle and end, or beginning and end, he sees only part of it. But if he sees the beginning, middle, and end of the breath, then he sees the whole breath. So at the same touching point, so you can also start with the beginning, try to see the beginning and end of the breath. Now the beginning means when the air, when it enters, touches the nostrils, that is the beginning. When it stops touching the nostrils, that is the end. So, and mental note, beginning, end. So then, if you understand only the beginning, you can see part, you can understand only part of the breath. If you see only the end, you can see part of the breath. Try to see, therefore, the whole process from the beginning to the end. So then, again, you can start with beginning. There is some disconnection, is there? Okay. And your mental note beginning and end. So then when the breath exceeds, you can feel the breath touching the nostrils and the touching point, and you can mental note beginning when it touches the nostril. When it stops touching the nostril, that is the end. So at the same touching point, you can see the beginning and end of the breath. So try to see also beginning, middle, and end of the breath. Middle means between the beginning and the end, there is a gap. Means when the breath enters, that's the beginning. After it continues, sometimes at the middle. When it stops, that is the end. And try to see also the middle of that. And mental note, beginning, middle, end. So, and for the out breath, try to see also beginning, middle, and end of the out breath. And mental note, beginning, middle, end. So that is about the third step. The third step is not different from the first one. It's called, what we try to see it is more details. Now, the same breath, you can see it in different ways. So you can see it in a gross way, or you can see it in a more subtle way to see more details. So therefore now the third step, the second step and third step, it is just for us to see more details, to see whether the breath is long or short. So after to go to see the whole process from the beginning to the end. So then we don't try to manipulate the breath ourselves. We observe the natural breath. What we do it is a mental exercise for us to see more details on this process of the in-breath and out-breath. So after the Buddha explains the third step, he is going to explain the fourth step, where he says, one trains thus, tranquilize in the bodily process of breath, I shall breathe in. And then one trains thus, tranquilize in the bodily process of breath, I shall breathe out. So this means that even though the process of breath may be tranquil, calm, quiet, serene, and relaxing, one should not stop watching it, but continue pay attention to the in and out breath. Because some meditators, after they concentrate for some period of time, so the breath becomes so tranquil, so nice, so calm, and they think, oh, how nice it is, and they enjoy this calmness, and they forget to observe the breath. So, but here the Buddha says one should continue observing the breath, when it goes in and out. Don't try, just enjoy this calmness, as called, because this calmness is going to disappear if you don't observe the breath. So this is the advice of the Buddha. Therefore, no, the first step it is to reinforce, as called, to tell the meditator, even if the breath becomes calm and quiet, one should observe it, continue observing it. Now, there is one word which the Buddha uses here. It is the bodily process, which is the kaya sankhara. And we're going to explain this, the meaning of kaya sankhara here again, because the word kaya reappears, and it again confuses some people. What means kaya here? Body. So then this definition is given again in the suttas, in the discourses of the Buddha. And in order to clarify this confusion, we're going to give the suttas. Now, the definition of kaya sankhara, or bodily process, is given in the suttas thus. Here it says, in-breath and out-breath are a bodily process, kaya sankharo. These states are bodily, are bound up with the body. That is why in-breaths and out-breaths are a bodily process. So for those who want to check the Pāli text, they can do so. Now, what means bodily process? It is very clear, in-breath and out-breath. This has nothing to do with our hands, our legs, our chest, our belly, nothing like that. It's just the whole process of in and out breaths. So, again, there is another canonical text also which says the same thing. What is the bodily process? Kaya sankharo. Long in breaths, long out breaths. Short in breaths, short out breaths are bodily. These states are bound up with the body and are bodily processes. So therefore now, this body or bodily process is very clear stated here. It's nothing to do with anything else except with the breaths. It is the breaths which actually we have explained. Kaya means body. It is a metaphorical sense, which is the whole process, the whole bulk, the whole mass of the air, which hits the nostrils, and the meditator can feel it. He can sense it, how it enters and exits, enters, exits. That is a kind of, not a body itself, but a kind of whole movement, the collection of movement of the breath. So then, therefore, one should continue watching the natural process of the in and out breath at parimukha, even though it may become tranquil, calm, quiet, serene, and relaxing. So because some people, if they feel so relaxed because of the breath, they enjoy this relaxation and they forget to watch the breath. Now maybe the concentration drops and they think, oh, what happened now? So now the Buddha tries to say in the fourth step for us to don't just enjoy the relaxation, try to again focus your attention to the breath and continue watching the breath. So now if during the meditation there are thoughts which occur in the mind, one should ignore them. So then, and try to bring the attention back to the breath again. And any distracting thoughts who come, one should not follow them. Try to bring back the mind to the breath again and again. So then that is how one should do it. One should not try to push these thoughts away, fight these thoughts, get angry with any other thoughts which come in the mind. Simply ignore them, don't pay attention to them, and try to remind the mind what it has to do. You can use these words, in, breath, out, breath, in, breath, out, breath, to remind the mind what it has to do. Even after the mind becomes calm, you can skip these words because the mind has been trained to do so. Only if distracting thoughts come, you can use these words, in, breath, out, breath, or the whole breath, beginning, middle, and end of the breath, and so forth, in order to bring the mind to the breath. So then, even so, some meditators, because they have busy days or some events happen in their life and they have many distracting thoughts, if that is the case, I will suggest another method, which is the counting method, against distracting thoughts and feelings. In case, therefore, you have so much anxiety in your mind, or many thoughts coming because you have been so busy with so many things and the mind is a little bit confused, we can use this counting method. This is also a gross way how to bring back the mind. Therefore, now, if there are sometimes distracting thoughts or feelings, you may try the following counting method to focus the mind to the breath. So this counting method is very simple. We have to count from 1 to 5. And you can use it as an emergency case. That means if the mind is too distracted and so forth. So then this method is simple. For example, if you breathe in and you breathe out, you mentally note 1. You put a number there, 1. And then if you breathe in and breathe out, you mentally note 2. Again, if you breathe in and you breathe out, you mentally note 3. Again, if you breathe in, if you breathe out, you mentally note 4. And if you breathe in, if you breathe out, you mentally note 5. So you go up to 5 and return to 1. So this is a summary of it. For example, for the in-breath and out-breath, you mentally note 1. For the in-breath and out-breath, you mentally note 2. For the in-breath and out-breath, you mentally note 3. For the in-breath and out-breath, you mentally note 4. For the in-breath and out-breath, you mentally note 5. So you go up to 5 and come back to 1. If you forget a number, you just start again from 1. So then, because there is a sequence of numbers, you can easily catch the mind. If you forget a number, that means the mind has gone out. Then you try to bring it back again by counting the breath. That means at the end of the out breath, you put the number. If you tell now, for example, in breath, out breath, in the end of the out breath, you put 1. Again, in breath, out breath, at the end of the out breath, you put 2, and so forth up to 5. So that is one simple method, and how to occupy the mind with the counting, and ultimately the mind, if the mind becomes calm, you can go to the first method to see the whole breath from the beginning to the end, which is more detailed, and one can easily get higher concentration. So there is also another counting method, that is, if however the distracting thoughts or feelings persist and are tough, you may try the following tougher counting method by repeating the same number of the in-breath and out-breath. So therefore, this is also from 1 to 5, and you can see, you can try also this one as an emergency case. This second counting method, that means for the in-breath, you mental note 1. And for the out-breath, you mental note 2. Well, excuse me, 1. So therefore, the number you put for the in-breath, you put also to the out-breath. So again, for the in-breath, you mental note 2. For the out-breath, you mental note 2. For the in-breath, you mental note 3. For the out-breath, you mental note 3. Again, for the in-breath, you mental note 4. And for the out-breath, you mental note 4. So for the in-breath, you mental note 5. And for the out-breath, you mental note 5. Because you repeat the number twice, so it is easy to remember. If you repeat the number once, like the first counting method, you might forget it. Second method, it is only you repeat the number twice. The number you put for the in-breath, you put also for the out-breath. Here again, now it is summary of it, you can see it. For the in-breath, you mental note 1. For the out-breath, you mental note 1. For the in-breath, you mental note 2. For the out-breath, you mental note 2. For the in-breath, you mental note 3. For the out-breath, you mental note 3. For the in-breath, you mental note 4. For the out-breath, you mental note 4. For the in-breath, you mental note 5. For the out-breath, you mental note 5. You go up to 5 and return back to 1. If you forget number, you just start again from 1. And when the mind becomes calm, you may return to experience the whole breath. So then that is you can go back to the touching point and try to see the beginning, middle, and end of the in and out breath. And mental note beginning, middle, end, or just beginning, end. This is how one should practice. Actually, this explanation, I will have given it within 5 minutes. It is not difficult how to go to the first step, in breath, out breath, and go to the second step to see more details. As called after 5 minutes, you go to see more details, to see whether the breath is long or short, mental note short or short in, short out, or long in, long out. So you can do it about 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then you can go to the third step to see the whole breath from the beginning to the end. So then now by doing this kind of concentration, after maybe some time, there are some good effects coming. And I'm going to show these effects. If one continues so, the concentration increases, and the sign of concentration, samadhi nimitta, may appear. Now, what is the sign of concentration? It is a kind of light which may appear in front of oneself and is connected with the breath. This is called the sign of concentration because the concentration is matured to a such extent so then it can produce light. We're going to speak about this light, but one thing is, before we're going to explain this, what means nimitta, as called, especially this word nimitta. Some people think the Buddha never used it. It is maybe later tradition came up with this word, but it's not true. We're going to see that the Buddha used many times in his discourses. Nimitta or samadhi nimitta and samatha nimitta are the words the Buddha used. Especially samadhi nimitta, this word occurs about 25 times in the Sutta Pitaka and refers to various samatha and vipassana meditations, depending on the context. And samatha nimitta, the sign of tranquility, this word occurs about 11 times in the Sutta Pitaka and refers to samatha meditation. Here's one quotation. The Buddha says, there is a sign of serenity meditation. Frequently giving careful attention to it is the nutriment for the enlightenment factor of concentration. And the sign of serenity is, according to the commentaries, serenity itself as well as its object, which is the Patibhaga nimitta or counterpart sign. And according to the commentaries, sub-commentaries, there are three types of nimitta. There is a preparatory sign, Parikama nimitta. There is acquired sign, which is Uggaha nimitta. And the counterpart sign, which is called Patibhaga nimitta. The meanings of nimitta is a sign, a mark, an image, mental image, reflects image. What is the preparatory sign? It is what the Buddha said, establishing mindfulness at Parimukha. Now, Parimukha, we already said, is actually the tip of the nose or the upper lip. If the meditator feels that the movement of the breath, which strikes the nostrils, that is a sign for him that the breath goes in and out. If he does not feel anything, he can't understand. So therefore now, this preparatory sign is to the place of establishing one's concentration. So if there is no place to concentrate upon, there is no way to increase the concentration. And this place is actually the Parimukha, which is the nostril or the upper lip. So because there is a sensation, which is there, which is an indication, a sign that the breath goes in and out. So after some time, concentration, the meditator concentrates on the in and out breath at the nostrils. So there comes the acquired sign, which is called Uggaha nimitta, the still unsteady image which arises when the mind has reached a high degree of concentration. That means this light appears, and this is in the mind of the meditator. We're going to explain what is this light, because some people misinterpret it. So, and this light is connected with the breath, which the meditator can see with his mental eye. So then, and it comes like a friend to help the meditator to see more details. It's like a torch which appears in front of the meditator, he can see the breath in very, very subtle way. So it is like a person who goes to a dark room. He can just see things very, very obscure, in a very obscure way. He has to touch them again and again to understand what is this, what is that. But if there is a light in the room, of course, he can see everything so clearly. Something similar happened with meditator. In the beginning, if he closed his eyes, he observed this breath going in and out. It is sometimes not distinct. The breath is not distinct and so forth. But the more he concentrates, slowly, slowly, the light appears. And as soon as the light appears, he can see more details. Therefore, this light, it is a product of concentration, which comes like a friend to help the meditator and for him to see more details. But the thing is, if he pays attention to this light, so this light disappears. Why? Because the concentration drops down, become weak. But as soon as he concentrates on the breath, so when his concentration increases, this light also appears. From this, we can understand that this light is a product of concentration. So the more the meditator concentrates on his breath, the more this light becomes stronger, stronger, stronger. And then it comes to the point which has become a counterpart sign, which is called Patibhaga nimitta, an entire clear and immovable image arising at a much higher degree of concentration, which covers the whole face of the meditator. So this light therefore becomes very powerful and covers the whole face of the meditator. And soon after this image arises, the stage of access concentration, Upachara Samadhi, is reached. Access concentration, it is close to the jhana, which is called the full absorption. And this is the attainment of the third jhana, the full absorption. Sometimes jhana is translated as ecstasy. So it is a kind of ecstasy for the meditator can stay for this state in a very blissful state. So then, in the mind of meditators, there are 5 factors which arise in the third jhana. First is the applied thought, that the mind is applied only on the breath or on the light which appears. And sustained thought, again, this sustains his mind again and again on the breath and on the light, and the rapture which arises, and the bliss, and also unpointedness of the mind. So these are the mental factors which arise in the mind of meditator. Therefore now, when the meditator attains this absorption, which is called jhana, his applied thought is only on the breath, does not go anywhere else. His sustained thought is also on the breath and also on the light, or the light which appears during this full absorption, and he experiences rapture, bliss, and on-pointness of the mind. So now the bright sign or the light varies depending on the meditator. For some, it is a bright light such as a morning star, or a bright ruby, a gemstone, or a bright pearl. For others, it is like a moon or a sun. The reason is that some people, they have different perceptions. And I'm going to give you an example. For example, here it is for if a light falls on a prism, so from the other side, there is a kind of rainbow effect. So, and it depends from which angle you can see it, you can see different colors. Yeah, it's called, you can sometimes see only the red color, sometimes on the yellow, sometimes the green, sometimes the blue. So it depends on which angle you can see it. Sometimes it's called, they appear also sometimes as a bundle of together. So then similarly with the meditator, so he can see according to his perception, different colors, different shapes of light. So that because of his perception, but the more he concentrates on the on the breath, the more this light becomes more unified, becomes more uniformed, and it stays is one color. It can be mostly, it can be white color and becomes more transparent. So the light is a product of intense mental concentration. It's nothing, it does not come from anywhere else from outside. It's a cosmic energy, and all these mystic terms do not apply here. Actually, it is just photons. So you might have heard about photons, and that appear in the meditator's mind due to the condensation of electromagnetic waves that exist in our bodies. Now, in our bodies, there are electromagnetic waves. This has been scientifically proved. So now in the electromagnetic spectrum, so if you see, the more the waves get condensed, that is a point when they make the light appear. The photons become very condensed and different, the rainbow colors starting appearing in this electromagnetic spectrum. Something similar happens with the meditators. If the the mind becomes very condensed, very, very concentrated on an object, so ultimately it produces this light. So therefore now it is a condensation for electromagnetic waves because of mental concentration. This is how this light appears. Now regarding this electromagnetism in our body, here there are a photograph which is called Killian photography, which shows how our body emits electromagnetic waves. So, and this is not only in our body, plants have also the same ability. They have also electromagnetism. And what is basically recorded in Killian photography are the very natural phenomena in our body, such as pressure, electric grounding, humidity, and temperature. Changes in humidity, which sometimes reflect changes in emotions, barometric pressure, and electric voltage, among many others, will produce different auras. Therefore, now during the meditation, these changes of emotions which appear in the meditator's mind, like rapture and bliss, this also can produce different auras, different colors. So then that is how the meditators can see sometimes they have different experience of colors. So then this light does not come from anywhere outside. We're going to clarify some misinterpretation of the light for some mystics and some meditators, which can, on the other hand, can see this light, but if they don't understand what is this, they give it different names. So which are wrong names. Now here, they call this sometimes the immortal, pure light of infinite consciousness. It's called, which is completely wrong. It's just photons. It's nothing to do with consciousness. Consciousness has no light, but it can produce light. So the cosmic light, that is also wrong. It is nothing from cosmos. It comes from our body, which has electromagnetic waves. Cosmic consciousness, again, is wrong because consciousness has no light, but our body can produce light because of consciousness. Cosmic energy is also wrong because it is nothing from cosmos. It is from a concentration which has been can produce this light. Sometimes they call God or God's grace, which are all wrong. So therefore, the union of man with the divine, which is also wrong. Enlightenment, that is also wrong. That's called, this is not enlightenment. It is actually a high degree of concentration, but not enlightenment according to Buddhism. Some, for Hinduism, they call it enlightenment, or other movements, philosophical and so forth, spiritual movement, but it's not enlightenment. This is kind of high degree of concentration, which can actually disappear sometimes. If one does not cultivate the concentration, it may disappear. So, and this is infinite ego. That is wrong. The soul, that is also wrong. The spirit is also wrong. The Brahma and his grace, Bodhisattva, all this grace. Actually, in physics, this is just photons, nothing else. All the rest is just misinterpretations who some people try to give and mystify all this experience. This is very common, and that's why we have different names. If you come from a background, from a Hindu background, you will give it your interpretation. If you come from a Christian background, you will give your interpretation. If you come some other spiritual background, you will give your own interpretation. But in if you analyze this light, it's actually just plain photons, nothing else. So it is a physical phenomenon. It's not a phenomenon. It's not a metaphysical one. So now regarding this light, all this light and so forth, which a meditator experiences, it is can be experienced in a gradual way. So, and as we explained, it has nothing to do with metaphysical concepts. It arises because of deep concentration. The more the concentration increases, so if you, in the beginning appears like that, after the concentration increases more and more, then it appears like that. The more the concentration increases, it appears also more strong, which the mind can reach up to the jhana, which is this ecstasis, and can remain this in a very blissful state. But even these ecstasies are not permanent. They can actually, one can lose them, as called, and except if one tries again and again to come and get absorbed into them. So, but there is nothing permanent in this light or in this concentration. Usually, that's why the Buddha has experienced all this ecstasies, and he has seen how they are impermanent. They are, but he uses them because they produce a high concentration, and he has not discarded them from his teachings. So then, this high concentration produces a kind of stability in the mind, which can be used for vipassana meditation, for insight meditation, to see how all things are impermanent, suffering, and not self, not to cling to this phenomenon. People who cling to them, of course, so they are reborn again and again. So now we have explained about this mindfulness of breathing meditation, but the Buddha has taught also meditation of friendliness, metta meditation. The reason is that some people who have very strong negative emotions, they are unable to practice it's called mindfulness of breathing. Their mind is so distracted, so because of the strong emotions, and in order to overcome them, the Buddha suggests to practice this metta meditation, which can overcome these negative emotions like anger, hate, sorrow, and stress, and anxiety and many other negative emotions which can disturb one's mind, like fear, and which can be so strong so that one is not able to calm it down. So, and in order to do so, this metta meditation is an effective way. We're going to explain how one can practice it in order to overcome these negative emotions. But before that, we're going to explain the word metta, because some people will translate different ways. So then the meaning of metta, it is that metta comes from mitra. In Sanskrit, it's mitra, which means a friend. So its real meaning is the disposition of a friend. That means friendliness. It is a friendly goodwill and wish for the welfare and happiness of all, wishing, may all beings be well and safe, may they be happy. So, and this includes oneself, because one can wish also oneself to be well and safe and to be happy, because one is also included in this category of beings. So, and the metta, the tendency of metta, it is that anger can be abandoned by the development of friendliness. Hence the Buddha says, this is the escape of anger, ill will, hate. That means the liberation of the mind by friendliness, metta citta vimutti. And again the Buddha says, cultivate the meditation of friendliness. By cultivating the meditation of friendliness, anger disappears. And then again he says, there is the liberation of the mind by friendliness, frequently giving wise attention to it. This is the denourishing of the arising of anger that has not yet arisen, and of the increase and strengthening of anger that has already arisen. So therefore now what the intention of metta meditation is to overcome this kind of aggressiveness, this anger which we have inside us, which can produce stress, can produce anxiety, can produce fear, can produce jealousy, can produce sorrow, in any other negative emotions. So this is the antidote for all these negative emotions. One more thing we're going to explain, that metta does not mean love. Some people that translate metta as love, and which can also is also a wrong translation. Now the Pāli word for love is pema and piya. So then, the Sanskrit, it is prem and priya, and in Hindi is prem and piya. Now these words has nothing to do with metta. They are completely different words, and love is a different emotion from friendliness. Now for those who have doubt regarding this metta, don't call it. Now in Hindi, for example, if you want to tell love in Hindi, you can learn how to say love. It is by using these words PR and prem. So this is very common in Hindi people. They use it to even today, because the Buddha, the language the Buddha used, although it is ancient Indian language, even nowadays the people use this. They use the same words slightly differently, but they have the same meaning. Now, if you want to see love stories and so forth, love movies, movies about love and all these things, these words are very common, PR and prem. So then, and love implies a strong emotion of affection and attachment, which in turn can bring sorrow and fear if that love is not fulfilled. That's why the Buddha says, from love, pema, piya, springs sorrow, from love springs fear. For him who is wholly free from love, there is no sorrow, whence then fear. The same he says about craving, the origin of existential suffering, dukkha samudaya, making it to understand that love is a form of craving and attachment. Thus he states, from craving, tanha, springs sorrow, from craving springs fear. For him who is wholly free from craving, there is no sorrow, whence then fear. However, instead of love, he urges his disciples to develop other noble qualities towards oneself and others, such as metta, which literally means friendliness or a friendly disposition, karuna, which means compassion, mudita, which means sympathetic joy, and upekkha, which means equanimity. Now we're going to explain a metta meditation, a serenity meditation, and as we're told, it is escape and mental freedom from animosity, hostility, ill feeling, antagonism, enmity, malice, resentment, bitterness, antipathy, ill will, anger or hate, fear, sorrow, jealousy, stress, anything we call negative emotions. Therefore, if you have anger in your mind, or you have hate in your mind, you have fear in your mind, a sorrow in your mind, you have jealousy in your mind, you have stress in your mind, that is the time to practice metta meditation. In order to do so, we're going to explain how to practice it. Now, for example, if you have anger in your mind, you can wish yourself, may I be without anger. You have to see, to recognize the anger in yourself. Try to take yourself as an object and wish yourself, may I be without anger. Try to go directly to the emotion. Don't try to avoid seeing it. Yeah, because some people, they can't admit that they have anger. That anger destroys the peace of mind. It destroys the serenity of mind. So therefore now we have to admit there is anger within you and try to wish yourself, may I be without anger. So throw all your attention to your body and wish yourself, may I be without anger again. Because if anger arises, it spreads in all our nervous system. So, and if you detect certain points of the body which are very tense, you can go to these places and wish yourself, may I be without anger. So, and you can see that this anger slowly goes away. Because what we do in this context, it is that we don't try to push this anger away, to fight with it. We try to withdraw our mind by telling, may I be without anger, may I be free from anger. So, but if we allow our mind to be dragged along with this anger, or to get involved with this anger, what's called, then this anger we nourish this anger. In order, as the Buddha said, to nourish this anger, it is we have to withdraw our mind, to take it outside of the stream of anger and wish yourself, may I be without anger. By doing so, slowly, this anger gets denourished. It has not the nourishment to continue, and it will drop away. So that is how slowly get rid of this anger by recognizing, understand what is the culprit which destroyed my serenity of mind. So my peace of mind is anger. Okay, you can go ahead and wish yourself maybe without anger. So throw all the attention to yourself, and you see that this anger slowly is going to disappear. So if you have hate in your mind, so again, you can wish yourself maybe without hate. Hate is actually more higher degree of anger. So if you have fear in your mind, you can wish yourself maybe without fear. If you have sorrow in your mind, you can wish yourself maybe with sorrow. If you are jealous in your mind, you can wish yourself maybe without jealousy. So in this way now, it's called, if you have stress in your mind, you can wish yourself maybe without stress. So any of these negative emotions which are inside you, so you can name them and wish yourself maybe without this emotion. So, and if you know any other negative emotions in your language, so you can also name them, recognize them, that are inside you. So in wish yourself maybe without emotion. You can see that these emotions do not have room to stay in your mind if you withdraw your mind. Do not nourish them. You don't get involved with them. You don't get dragged along with them. So why, if you remember instances when you got angry because of some episode which happened, you again take yourself as a center of attention and wish yourself, may I be without anger or stress and so forth regarding this emotion. So either in the present moment or past moments, you can actually, whenever you see yourself, wish yourself maybe without emotion, this negative emotion. This you can do while walking, sitting, lying down. So whenever this emotion arises, you can be aware of it and wish yourself, may I be without this negative emotion. You can see that this emotion will have no room to stay in your mind, and you can regain your peace of mind. So after the mind becomes peaceful, so you can wish yourself, may I be happy. So because this meditation is from one side to remove these negative emotions, and from the other side to arouse negative emotions. And happiness is something which many people wish, because I don't know whether you know anybody who gets up in the morning and wishes, may I be unhappy today. So usually people, they wish something good to happen to them. They wish something pleasant to happen in the mind. This is what means some happiness. And they are looking for happiness. And it is good to arouse this positive emotion, may I be happy. So because now you are peaceful, the mind is peaceful, then you can actually wish yourself, may I be happy. But if the mind is very confused and so forth, how you can tell me I be happy? First, you have to remove this negative emotion. After become calm, then you wish yourself, may I be happy again and again. So you can see how you can feel happy. If memories come from the past, which you have been, you felt happy, you can take these memories and wish again yourself, may I be happy. Either the present moment or past moment, take yourself as a center of attention and wish yourself, may I be happy. So after you feel this satisfaction, that's called some happiness arise in your mind, you can wish all the other people, may he or she be happy. Friends you remember, or relatives or parents, any people you remember who have in your life, wish them also to be happy. Because our happiness does not depend only from us. We are surrounded from many people, and it's good to share this happiness with other people. And this is how you can actually have good relations with other people, means good understanding with other people, to avoid misunderstandings. You become more sensitive to them. So by wishing them positive things. So then this is how you can practice meditation. It's very helpful for everyday practice, especially for people who live who have difficult times. It's called dealing with negative emotion. This metta meditation is very helpful. When the mind becomes calm, if you return to the breath, you can see the breath becomes so smooth. So it is easy to follow, because the mind is not agitated. When the mind is not agitated, the breath is also easy to observe. So then in order to remove this agitation, strong negative emotions, metta meditation is very helpful.